Hello, I am outside. It is pretty wintry here. -2 degrees, I think. No snow yet, though. Today I am going to talk about something meta. There's been a bit of a debate in the Danish bold action community about meta and what is good and what's not good. And I have thoughts. One of the things is that a lot of people in Denmark seem to believe that there is a thing where you can sort of make a list where the list will win for you. In my experience, that is not true. That is there is an element of list building. I've talked about this a lot on my channel here. That there is some sort of list building where the list will do stuff for you, but to my mind, it's not what decides the game. And if you listen to other people when they have been abroad, that has always influenced how they see the meta, how they see their own list, what they think is good, because they've been exposed to other things, other ideas. We had the Spaniards and the Germans coming up for BYG, and we're going to have the same for the Danish nationals, people coming in from all over Europe, and they are bringing different ideas. And these different ideas will influence the meta, will influence what we think of as good and not good. So right now in Denmark, not multi-launcher spam, but one, maybe two, maybe even three multi-launchers is seen as good. Maybe even OP. Flamers in engineer units, flamers in trucks is seen as good, maybe even OP. So we have this meta that's developed, and that developed since the last WTC, where some of these ideas sort of came into being after that. Is it then the unbreakable super list? No, I don't think it is. We've had a lot of difficulty cracking that list. We've had a lot of difficulty making counter-meta lists. In the WTC team, we have been actively trying to do that. I think I may have some answers to it, but it's not 100% done yet. But I think I may have ideas. And if you look at what's happening abroad, if you look at some of the top players in Europe, they're not doing the same thing. They are not making flamer spam lists, barbecue lists as we call them. They're not. Manuel did bring a multi-launcher list to BYG, but that was a very unusual list, and it had a very specific reason why he was doing that. If you look at something that Russell Wright is doing, his lists are mostly not in transports. They are mostly infantry. It's very, very different. What we saw in Scotland was again very, very different from what we're used to. Yes, we did see some of those lists that had a lot of flamethrowers in transport, but I mean the list that won was a Polish Lancer list. So, and there was a lot of lists that had lots of artillery in them. So for me, I think that there is something there that needs to be explored in regular infantry, maybe not regulars, but at least, riflemen squads as your infantry, and maybe artillery. I think that there's something there that could be really used and utilized. What I think is the issue right now is that quite often the players that are trying to do this are historical players that I'm not saying that they're not good players, but I'm saying that they are maybe playing for something else than just to win every time. So I think we're going to need to have some of the top players, some of the really good players, try to work out how to build lists that are infantry and artillery based and can win games. I think we could do something with that if we want to actively try and develop the meta in Denmark, in Europe as well. And another thing I think it needs to be done is, if you are a player that you're maybe not very competitive and you like historical lists, I think this is the place for you to go. I think going the route of artillery and infantry and then practicing with it, because nothing of this is easy. I mean, even the barbecue lists, even the close combat lists, they're not easy to play. They are not easy to play, and you need practice in order to become good. So it's not just a factor of, well, you had the best list and then you won. No, that is not what's happening. What's happening is that the player with the best list has also practiced. That player has played 10 times more games than you have when you lose to that player. So, and with the same list, mind. So he knows how the list works. He knows what to do with that list. And I think we can do the same with artillery and infantry-based lists. So that is my argument. That is the argument. And I think that you can make historically accurate lists that can be competitive if you train. If you go the route of infantry and artillery and you train, I think you can actually do something where you can win games. There are, of course, nations where this becomes more difficult. This is all coming from the place where Caspar and Michael C. and I have been debating whether or not Italians are even worth it. They've been making a lot of lists. I've been responding to them, and Caspar told me one day, is it even possible to make a historically accurate list and be competitive enough to so much that it's still fun for me to go to a tournament? I know that I'm not going to win the tournament because I'm not whacker OP type like you guys, but I just want to be able to say that this went okay, I had fun, and I think it's possible, and I think infantry and artillery is the place to do it. There is something that we need to discuss, and that is the Dhaka stewards or the Polizei tanks, which will most of the time simply erase infantry units. So I think one of the things that we have to consider when making a historically accurate list that is still competitive enough that you can win games is, I think you need to have something that threatens away the enemy light armor. And especially I think you need to have something that can threaten trucks and 8+ armor. That is where the most threats come from engineers in a truck moving up quickly on the last few dice and then jumping out and flamethrowing you. So the list needs to contain something to deal with that. Panzerfausts are a good idea, especially if in ambush. Then if you have your infantry in ambush with one, maybe 2 Panzerfausts, you can actually shoot that Panzerfaust from ambush. So the Dhaka Steward will not move up into 6-inch range where it becomes really effective. And you can then choose whether you want to go down instead, so that you can even lessen how much casualties you're going to take. Yeah, that was my thoughts right now on how to build historical lists that can be competitive. There are other ideas still floating around. They will crop up when I am finished with them. Cheers!